Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Live Your Spa Life show. Spa Life is a lifestyle that accepts that accomplishment and harmony coexist. The Spa and Spa Life, the SPA, is for seek power always so that you can do your deeper work here in the world. I am so thrilled to introduce today my special guest, Meg Conkling, who is a professional hairstylist, salon owner, and business coach for salon owners. She thrives off of being of service, helping others find their joy and living a life of authenticity. She exclusively, I love this about her, she knows who she's working for and what she's up to. She exclusively works with naturally curly haired clients and absolutely loves what she does. Meg, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Diane. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, girl, you are a celebrity in this niche that you have because, I mean, I've even heard from a lot of my friends who have curly hair is that stylists don't get my hair, they can't cut it. There's just, I mean, my youngest daughter has really curly hair, and it's just one of those things that's out there that, you know, not a lot of stylists have really addressed this. And, you know, you are known on social media platforms as the curly hair alchemist, and you share stories with love and moxie, and you're just getting it out there. What's one of your favorite stories?
Oh, well, there's a really, I think one of my favorite stories is actually a horror story. And I think that that's something that happens to a lot of us with our hair, right? Especially as women. We think of the last time you got your hair done, that was a complete disaster. But my story is very different because it's coming from a stylist point of view. Now, as a stylist, I'm in people's heads every day. I am meeting new people. It's like blind dating. I never know who's going to sit in my chair, and I never know if we're compatible or not. So this one's a little different. As you know, I do only naturally curly hair. So I was ready to go to sleep and set my alarm until I got a notification on my own iPhone saying, hey, you have an urgent email and the subject says, I need you, tomorrow's my wedding. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, who needs me? It's their wedding. So I open it and it's this woman I've never met before. And what I love about social media platforms is that I get referrals all the time from people that I don't even know who have actually never sat in my chair just because they've seen my work or they've seen someone else in the group get their hair done. And they're like, oh, Meg, that's an easy name, right? So this woman emails me, Diane, when I tell you, she was a mess. She was like, I just fired my hairdresser and I'm getting married tomorrow.
Oh my God. Talk about this, not only like the bridezilla, but I mean, how many people would just like lose their mind, right? 24 hours before when they're trying to be like, hey, I'm supposed to be at the spa right now.
So I'm thinking like, are these red flags or do I need to put out a fire? So I just wanted to help her being, you know, the nurturer that I am. So I said, okay, I'll be there it was about almost midnight. And I was like, I'll see you in 6 hours. But what I want you to know is she told me she had naturally curly hair and she wanted to wear her hair curly for her wedding. So I'm thinking, I got you. Like, I'm the perfect person.
Right.
And then I get there, I get to this beautiful home. Oh, it was like a dream come true. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm about to meet my ideal client, someone who makes a lot of money, someone who really loves their hair. And I'm thinking I'm set for life because I've always wanted to have like my own Kim K. And so I walk in, I set up my curl kit. She walks in with nothing else but poker straight hair.
Oh my God.
So I'm thinking, did I misread the email? And I pull up the email, it says naturally curly hair wants my hair curly for wedding. And I'm thinking, what just happened? Am I, excuse me. I asked, am I in the right house? Are you the bride? She said, I got a keratin treatment last night.
Oh my God.
So you can only assume what happened. It was a complete nightmare. But the reason why I remember this story so much is because it made me realize just how misinformed people are about their own hair and how she thought she was going to be, yes, she is naturally curly, but she just killed all of her curls, right? So I couldn't do her hair because I'm a curly girl. I
Oh,
don't
wow.
even own a curling iron.
Wow.
So she, of course, was very upset and said that she'd have to Photoshop her hair in her wedding pictures. I got the boot. I got kicked out of her beautiful home. And the funny thing is, what surprised me was her dad paid me $500
Wow.
because he was like, I'm so sorry for your emotional distress. I'm like, oh, I'm not distressed at all, but thank you so much for my mental health. And it's one of my favorite stories because it's such a shell shocker. And
Right.
it just goes to show that when you love what you do, you will put yourself on the line and go take care of somebody you don't know just to make sure that they have a great day. And
Yeah.
that's why I love what I do.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, how stand up of her dad, because obviously you had to move things around and get there and travel and all the things that needed to happen to get there with the best intention. So that's really cool. But that's also how clear you are about who you're serving and what you're doing and just, really, being in the space for that. So I love that. I love that, you know, these things pop up, right? And this is where we have to be thinking on our feet and make these things happen. So I know you talk about how you can't function without living life on your terms. Tell us more about that.
Oh, so Independence is my middle name. So when I was in fifth grade, my teacher was like, this is Meg, hear her roar. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, what does that mean, miss? Like, what does that even mean? And that's basically been my whole life. I think for me, living on my own terms means waking up and really creating my day. And sometimes it's not very clear. I'm human, no one's perfect. But I think what keeps me really clear on that vision is remembering of what my life was like when I didn't have life on my terms. Working for a boss that was in control of my vacation days, my sick days, just feeling like I had to not even be authentic just to get a day off, just to get mental clarity of what I needed in my day. And I think as a woman, as an artist, and what I didn't know at the time, I was going to become an entrepreneur. I needed more time to reflect and to cultivate a lifestyle that I really wanted more than most people that I saw in the workspace. So I already felt like I was a black sheep. I was very interested in seeking, and I took, trips to India. I was very into spiritual practices. I loved yoga. I think yoga saved me from becoming a drug addict, because I partied a lot, but I kept saying yes to everyone else and partying and looking great and fabulous and kind of fitting this mold. But I would go home and just feel like, what am I doing? So that question of confusion led me to gain more clarity. And it made me realize that I wanted to live a life where it was on my terms. It was okay to be a control freak in that essence. And it was okay to say no to a lot of things in order for me to get a bigger yes, and things that I was scared of. For example, just going out on my own, being an entrepreneur, never taking a business class, just knowing that my passion was enough. And everyone thought I was crazy because they're thinking, well, how are you going to make money? And I'm like, I'm just going to show up. So I think, living a life where everyone didn't really understand me simply because I had very different hair and I looked different. I think that was really a gift for me to say, you know what, I am different and I do want different things and I can achieve it. So I don't know. I just kind of went for it and was thinking, what's the worst that can happen? I'm not going to be homeless and eating cat food because I will never let myself be that down. So it's really important to me to claim my independence. And I love it about myself. It's very empowering, very enriching.
Right. Well, and I love that you actually call like living life on your terms, that you're living with luxury. And I'd love for you to expand a little bit about that because, people have a certain thought processes about what luxury is. And I love how you use it to refer to your life.
Luxury, the definition for me is a life that I have made the choice to live. And I think luxury is a choice. Luxury is not given to us. It's something that we have to find in everything that we do. We have to find the beauty and the, spa-like mentality, a mentality where you look at something and you can find the joy in it and the relaxation in it, even if it's high intensity. For an example, when I started going into business for myself and I started taking on new clients, I realized that my clients, yes, they needed me because no one else was doing their hair that way, but they were able to make the choice of working with somebody that had the knowledge, the passion, and the will to work with somebody like them and to deliver something different. That in itself is a luxury, because you could choose to keep working with somebody that doesn't want to know about your hair and you still get like mediocre haircuts, or you get a mediocre style. But these women want to feel great. They want to choose to feel beautiful. They want to choose to love themselves deeper. And that is a really high vibe mentality to saying self-love is a choice. And that to me is luxury. To love yourself is something that does not come natural. And because it doesn't come natural to a lot of people, we're taught to care about everybody else and leave us on the back burner and keep it simmering. But, we are like a fine wine. Sometimes it takes a while to get to where we need to go with our own self-care. And when we make that choice, then we can feel those luxuries of making that choice and really embodying that. I don't know. It's sexy. It's really sexy when somebody is just like, I'm going to pamper myself. I'm going to take care of myself. It's very Venus-like and very, what's her name? Aphrodite. Kind of like those women that just kind of sultry like into the room and they have a presence about them and it comes from within. I think women can choose to live that way very easily if they just say yes to luxury. And that's how I see my lifestyle for sure.
I love that so much. And I love that you're saying it's a choice. Like, I am such a huge fan of like, we get to choose our experiences and what that looks like. And, I want to talk a little bit too about like values, because you and I are totally in line with like, what are your values and are you living into your values and what those things look like? And actually one of my values is to be sensual. Like, I believe to actually have that as a choice and show up and, yes, sexual is part of that, but sensual is just like, just the tactile and smell and just beauty in your space and just really fully embracing life. And so I think it's so important to have that. I'd love for you to talk about your values and what are some of your top values and how do you incorporate that into your life?
I got asked this the other day. I was in my coaching program and I was on camera and connecting with my members. And what I was experiencing that day was just like a lot of anxiety, a lot of just rapid thoughts. And I did have a lot going on, I will admit. My plate sometimes gets so full that it overflows and I don't really know what to do with the items that have fallen off. Right. And so I sat there and in this midst of just being super confused and discombobulated, I always think of Mother Nature because she has this thing where she has dirt, she has soil, she can plant things into the floor of herself and she can grow things up from the ground. And I thought to myself, where am I in the ground right now? Because I don't feel like I'm on solid ground. I feel like I'm very floaty. I'm really not feeling myself. And it's when I take that moment to say, you know what, right now, I don't feel like I'm a 10. I don't feel like I'm super on top of my game. I don't feel like I have it all together. Right now in this moment, I feel like I'm like a 5.5. I'm half losing it and I feel too far away to be fully fueled up. So what I find to be of my values are the 3 pillars that like bring me back into myself and set that intention of who I am. And that's what a value means to me. 3 of my values are, how can I be more loving in this moment? Because when I am completely and totally lost or confused, I'm not taking the moment to just love what I have and be grateful for what I have, right? I'm not feeling love. I'm feeling disconnected. And when we feel disconnected, we don't feel worthy of anything. And I felt that way almost my whole life when I was a kid. I never felt worthy of love. So my value of loving means, how can I be more loving in this moment? And how can I take my own insecurity or my own inner conflict, and how can I turn it more into a loving situation or a mindset? And I feel like that is my earth. That is the place that I can go to and say, this feels real and authentic. And it just anchors me back to something that's pure.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
then
I was just going to say, before you go into the next one there,
yes.
It was once shared with me, especially when people like fly and go into different, time zones, that one of the quickest ways that you can actually ground yourself is to take your shoes off and put them in the dirt or grass, and that you acclimate to the time right away, because that does have us plug into Mother Nature. It's like something that is like so needing. It's like really like we're soaking up the nutrients of the soil to be able to do that. So it had reminded me about that. So anyway, keep going.
That's so on point, because we're porous. And because we're porous, we can absorb that energy. And when I absorb that energy within myself, I become more trusting. And that's my second value. It's like one supports the other. And when I become more trusting in my day, in my process, whatever I'm about to experience, I can let go of a lot of the control of what I think I need to be doing. And it brings me more into a grounded state. And I can connect better with my community. And that's actually my third value, is people. Not only individuals, but as a whole society. Now, and this might sound a little off topic, but you're going to see where it comes together, is I'm a very firm believer that social media actually brings people together. A lot of people say that it doesn't, but here's my thought. Now, when I was growing up, I didn't really have community. My family, they fought all the time. Everybody had enemies. I learned in a very short amount of time, after about the age of 6 or 7, that your family can really hurt you and deceive you. So I had to work a lot around my past history of deceitfulness, gossip, backstabbing, heartache, all these really ugly things that no child should endure. We should be outside having fun and being a kid. I don't really think I had a childhood. And social media for me, when I was growing up, was like AOL. I was a teenager and I was going into chat rooms and I was finding people who talk and look and seem like me. And I was like, oh my goodness, there's other Megs. Like, who would have thought there's other Megs? And then as I opened my own business, it was my social media that brought me into all these communities. And the curly community is very small. There's not many of us. There's not many stylists. So we had to go out, kind of like online dating. We had to go out and find like the right profiles and swipe, to match us, because we had to learn from each other. And if it wasn't for community, I would always just feel like I don't fit in anywhere. And that would never bring me back to the full circle of loving and trusting and community. They would never feed each other in what I needed in my growth and the way I want to live my life. So it's kind of really interesting how those three values show up in every area of my life.
Definitely. Well, I'm glad you brought that up about social media, because, I think it has to do with like, what's your intention around it? I don't know if you know Brianna Day, but she is in Instagram and she talks in there and she's amazing. I love her. She was actually in like a beauty boss. And so it was really in kind of the beauty world. And one of the things I love about her is that she talks about, when you are connecting with people on social media, you want to talk to them like we're talking right now, like we're connecting, like, hey, Meg, how's it going? Like, what's up? Tell me about yourself. What's happening? But a lot of times when people are like, when you're in conversations, you're not going to like put a thumbs up and say like, or you're not going to go like, hey, I heart you right now. Right? Like if there's a little bit of a disconnect, and she says, just because those things are there doesn't necessarily mean, you need to use them, because where are you having the real connection with that? And so that just recently just kind of hit me, where it's like, I'm always hitting like the love buttons and stuff, but you also need to actually say, hey, thanks for connecting, or, hey, what's up with you? Or, hey, how are we connected? Or just something else beyond that. And not in that like, salesy marketing weird language, because you're not going to say that either. Right. It's like, it's like, what are you saying when you have a real person in front of you? And if you can do that in social media, then you're going to actually have some of those real connections.
You're spot on. What I've been doing, and to our audience out there who's going to really vibe with this, or maybe haven't thought to do this, I do voice memos or I do video responses, because as a stylist, I'm in the people industry all the time. I'm touching people. In fact, outside of doctors and masseuses, I'm the only other licensed profession that can legally touch individuals. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of responsibility there because our hair is so sensitive. Because think about it, our hair has no feeling. We feel it when we pull it from the scalp, right? We're like, oh, there it is. But if we touch it, we actually have no sensation because there's no nerve endings. Mm. So think about when you sit in someone's chair and you're about to get your hair done, the second they touch you, it's very motherly. Mm. Because it was our moms that touched us all the time, or our grandmamas, or our aunties, or sometimes our dads. And it's very, very loving and very, it's nurturing. Mm-hmm. And so I take that into my social media. Like, I want to nurture you, but how can I nurture you when I'm writing like this? Because to be honest with you, this is a pain in the ass. Like, I don't really want to do this. And I understand like voice dictation exists, but most of the time Siri, she's like stupid and she doesn't listen all the time. So she's messing everything up. Or she'll hear me say a word that sounded like someone's name in my contacts. So then you'll get like the name with the emojis next to them, because that's when I use emojis so I can remember people. If I have like 17 Marys in my phone, I need to put emojis next to them of their personality so I know who I'm talking to. Right. And I think emojis are used to describe something when we have no words, but we still need words. We still need human connection because we're starving for it. And it's because it's the only way we operate. And we can really connect and plug in. So voice memos and video is my jam. It's my jam.
Love it. Love it. Oh, it's so fun to do that. I want to pivot a little bit into talking about fear. There are things that come up, and I know you have shared about, having like anxiety and things that pop up. And I love how you address that and how you really look at where's your energy at, and you look at this whole scale of like a 1 to 10. And I'd love for you to share, because I think there's going to be so many listeners that are going to really relate to this, about your airport incident.
Okay. So, I struggled with anxiety so much when I was a teenager and in my 20s and early 30s. I'm 35. I'm a Taurus. I'm going to be 36 in May. And
wait, May what?
May 14th.
Okay. My granddaughter is May 11th. So.
Oh, yay. Okay. So we're like the best.
Yeah.
And I also have Scorpio and Moon, and I'm not going to get into the whole astrology thing, but Scorpios in general are intense. We're emotionally intense. Tauruses are really stubborn. And so put intensity and stubborn together, and like an anxiety attack is perfect in that personality, because it's like, well, I don't want to let go of my anxiety because I'm so used to it and it's normal, but I also like want to crank it up just a little bit, because if I don't, then I'm not being authentic enough. You know what I mean? So there's kind of like this double-edged sword with my personality when it comes to being completely in a place of unempowered. And so that was my default mode for a very long time. It was what nurtured me in such an abusive household and an abusive environment. And as I moved out of my parents' place, and I moved out when I was 26, and new experiences can give you anxiety, right? It's the unknown. You don't know what's coming. You don't even know why you're doing it half the time. And your brain is just trying to figure out a solution, because that's what our brains do. So at the time, when I was in a place of a lot of confusion and a lot of distraughtness, I realized what took me out of it was when I was at work. I didn't have this going on when I was doing hair. The second I would leave the salon, it would just smack me right again. So I had to do something about that, because I couldn't just live behind the chair. I had to go out in the world and I had to get help. And I started asking a lot of coaches and stuff like that. I started hiring a lot of people to help me with my mindset, and it got me very far. Eventually, I started firing those people because I started leveling up, and I didn't need them for what I needed them for anymore. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing, is like fire with pride, fire because you have actually moved on.
Right.
And they want you to move on. They don't want you there forever. If they do, then I mean, I don't know if you should trust them.
Well, it's a new person that you may need too. They talk about, new level, new devil, right? There's new things that pop up in your world that don't support you. So you may need a different person that supports you in that area.
Right. Good point. And so when I was going to Atlanta, this was just a few months ago. I went to Atlanta and I landed in the airport. And what's interesting is I was just starting to date a new person, new person, new situations, new, like, red flags everywhere. Don't trust this new person. Don't get vulnerable. Don't do this. And I'm like, what do I do? So I land in the airport and I'm looking around, and I remember I was holding my hands like this. And I said, I have to sit down. I can't leave this place until I know I'm all right. I sit down and I start realizing I'm having a freaking anxiety attack. And my heart is beating fast. I'm thinking World War III at this point. I'm thinking I can't go out there. I don't know what restaurants. I don't know who my Uber driver is. I can't move. What's in my backpack? What did I pack? Like, it's just, everything is so loud that everything is like this big in your vision. So I put my hands together and I said, okay, I can feel my palms. What do my palms feel like? And it was just those baby steps, just getting very present. It led me to then counting how many curls that I could see around my face. How many curls? How many can I see? And then it was how many beads are on my necklace. What, and then eventually when I got down enough, I said, what is happening? And then I just said, I just feel like I'm a number two. I just feel like I'm a number two. I feel like my world is depleting. And once I started kind of coaxing myself back into like a number 5, I felt better. I was like, 5 feels good at this point. But it took me I talked out loud. I stopped with this and I said, okay, what's your name? There's a pair of white trousers. There's yellow shoes. I started just kind of bringing myself. It took me 2 hours to get me to a level 5.
Wow. Good for you for sticking with that, right? I mean, you look at it's the awareness, right? When you are in a space and then okay, here's where I'm at, and that you actually do have the tools to walk yourself through it and just acknowledge. And I love you talk about, anywhere from counting your necklace to your hair to seeing what's outside of yourself, because when you can actually say those things and articulate those things, it puts you into the present moment, right? You have to be there and then see what's next and where you're going with it. So I love that you can have that identification. I think this is going to be really helpful for the listeners, right? Because there's times where, maybe you're not labeling it as a panic attack, but you feel hijacked, or you feel like something's up, or life's happening around you that you're like, you know what? I need some tools, right? Either I need to go find someone to help me with the tools, or I need to start incorporating the tools that I have to really pull ourselves out of those things. I think that's such an empowering thing, to one, recognize it, and then to, actively do something about it.
And it's so easy to help others,
right?
So easy to give the tools to them. Here's my toolbox. And we forget that our toolbox needs to be close to us too.
Right.
And little things matter. I think of children. I think when they're really hyper, or they're really disoriented, or they don't know what's going on, we make them count backwards. We make them look at a coloring book. We do very little things that we think we forget over time, because we feel that life needs to be more complicated than that. For some reason, I don't know, the ethers opened up and someone said, when you're adulting, things get much more complicated. And I don't think that needs to be the case. Again, I'm choosing my life. And that can be, even in the hardest of times, that luxury is still there.
Right. Definitely. Well, and I love that you keep coming back to choosing, right? And we really are at choice, and even like the environment. So one of the things I love asking guests on the show is to really look at their environment, because we have different experiences with what's happening around us. We're going to feel different, in our kitchen versus our living room versus our bedroom. And so what is your favorite room in your home and why?
Okay. So I have a story. When you first walk, so come with me in the virtual tour of Meg's apartment.
All right.
So I have a one bedroom. So you walk through my door, there's a hallway straight to the bathroom, and to the left, there's the bedroom. Or to the right, you go down another hallway, and it's kind of a U-shaped room around a kitchen that I've knocked out the walls, and there's some windows, and it's beautiful. It looks like a studio apartment. When I first moved into that apartment, I had to do a lot of renovations, but before I did, I said, I want my bed in this like living room, dining room area, and I want the other room to be my dining room. And everyone that I told that to was like, but when you have people over, that's going to be weird. And I thought, right, because I'm going to have people over. I don't have people over. I don't have people over. So I eventually did what I said I wanted, and I moved my bed into the studio space. So now it's just this one big open space with this gorgeous bed in the middle. And I have all these windows on the back wall, and my kitchen's right here. And you know what I love about it is that I wake up to all this light from the windows, but I also wake up in silence, because since I live in an apartment complex, everyone else, guess where they're sleeping?
In that room.
In that room. So I don't hear everyone coughing and talking and their dogs barking to go outside for a walk. I'm in the part of the apartment that no one else is sleeping in. So nice. I kind of feel like I'm like the only person in that building. So that's brought me a lot of peace and just a lot of clarity of, again, designing it the way that I want it and not listening to societal economic norms of how the layout of your home should be.
Right.
So it's really cool. And I'm so proud of myself, because I was like, I'm not listening to you.
This is so important, because, part of what I do with my clients is looking at their space, right? Because it's like part of what can take your power away is letting the environment dictate how you're going to live your life. And I mean, I had a client that when we looked at going like room to room, whether it was like virtually in a head, like what kind of experience do you want to have in this space, right? It may not be what the contractor had in mind, but I have talked to like a lot of my clients who've made the choice that the what was meant to be the bedroom has actually, this master, which is like a bigger space, they've decided to make that their office, because they're like, this is where I spend the most time, and I want the most light, and I want to have these experiences in there. And that the smallest room that they usually have for like an office, they actually had that as their bedroom, because they wanted it to be like this cocoon space. So depending on your intention and what you want to actually have your life reflect, I love that you've done that. It's so important to be so conscious about that. And that just lines up with who you are.
I think so. And I didn't know, other people have these conversations, right? I mean, how often do we talk about turning our space into really what we want? We see all these home decor shows online, and we see the makeover house shows that we see on television. And we never just think, well, what do I want my home to look like? How do I want to feel in my home?
Right.
It's so spot on what you're doing. And it's helping so many people too, because now they're really claiming their space.
Right.
How often do we get to claim our space when it's like everything's already kind of programmed to look the way it should look?
Yeah, definitely. I love that. Well, I mean, we could be talking about this stuff like all day long. I just love what you're up to. And I know that, the listeners are going to want to follow you and stay connected with you and see what's up in Meg's world. How can they do that?
Yeah, if you really want to be in Meg's world, you can follow me on Instagram at Curly Hair Alchemist. And what I love about my social media is that I'm always interacting you. Literally, it's like my virtual diary. You can come into my salon, you can come into my personal life because they're not separate. They're my life as a whole. And if you are curious of how you can work with me virtually, whether you are a hairstylist looking to change your hair game and you want to get into more of a niche routine of working with your stylist, your clients, and getting an ideal client for yourself, my link is in my bio of my Instagram, and you can see just more information there. And it's really cool because it's not just one thing, right? It's not just only doing hair. It's how you can create the life of your dreams and make money, and really have a good time. And one more thing that I want to add too is I may be a hairstylist, but I feel the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of my followers is that I'm more of a mindset stylist. I'm more of looking at life through the lens of a mindset that you can create for yourself, because the filter that you put on over your outer image comes from within. And so if we can change our hair and we can enjoy what we have authentically, what was born out of our roots, we can always be just as powerful as Mother Nature and as beautiful naturally as her. So it's really cool.
I love it. Thank you so much, Meg. It's been so great having you on the show and your wisdom. I love your edge. I love your energy. And I know that our listeners are going to want to stay connected with you. So thank you again for being on the show.
Thank you, Diane. I really loved being here. It's an honor, honestly.
Perfect. Well, to our listeners, we know that our most precious resource is our time, and we so appreciate you taking some time to be here with us. And, we talked a little bit about social media and about connecting and being together. So whatever platform you're on, make sure you put in some comments, ahas, what are you going to take away? Do you have any questions for us? And make sure that you tag both Meg and myself so that we can answer any questions and just keep the conversation going. And, we want you to be part of this movement of, standing in your power and just getting the word out and sharing positive messages. So please share this podcast, get it out there, subscribe, listen to your favorite one and put a review in there. It all matters. It makes a difference on how it gets out there. So until we connect again, live your spa life. Bye for now. Bye-bye.